Protocol has already been established. However, we do still give honor to the bishop and Pastor Pat, Bishop Mans and Lady Mans, all of you in your respective places, every pastor, my husband. We certainly thank God for the man of God. But we're going to go ahead and get this thing going here. So let's go. My word comes from John 19:30. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, "It is finished." And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. Now this Greek word tetelestai, which translates to "it is finished." So for this little portion, I'm going to call this the final curtain. So now the final curtain is something that is metaphorically refers to the end of a performance or the culmination of an event. We know that this scene that we're witnessing is coming to a close in its current form. So although there are those who still don't believe that are standing around, this is a story that's been written since the beginning of time to get us to this point. But just like any good show, there must be something to keep the people intrigued, and the best ones end with a plot twist that no one would see coming. So with all of these components that are in place, we have nothing left but to get to the expected end. So our time together has been a rough time thus far, and it was hard for some to watch, or even for us to imagine who weren't there standing at the foot of the cross. However, of this story, our main character of the show was this perfect lamb who was sent after the fall of man in the garden. So the stage has been set for what I will call the true greatest show on this earth. Back in the 1800s, the phrase "the greatest show on earth" was used to promote the Barnum and Bailey circus after they had joined their two shows together. They gained in popularity, but ultimately their final curtain moment happened in 2017 when it ended in its original form. They tried to make a comeback 6 years later with some notable differences, which was it no longer used animals in its show. Follow me here. So now before you clutch your pearls and throw them, just follow me for just a second. So it seemed like a good show that gained in momentum, but it left the people talking about the experience that they had and the wonderment that they felt. But it's here that I'd like to offer this different view into a single event that really was the greatest show on earth. Right? Okay, so I would not dare compare this event to a circus, although there were some clowns that were around. This event that I speak of is why we're here today. So it shows the magnificent event that took place well over 2,000 years ago on a hill called Golgotha. And when this event was over, or so it seemed, there was some things that came to an end. So it was a display that exhibits the culmination of a 3-year ministry, though the man lived for a full 33 years. It was an event that only needed to take place one time only, and we still speak of its glory and how we feel on today. An ending of that left some in disbelief, but then in the end, it caused others to start believing that this lamb was exactly who he said that he was. It was a storyline that was full of miracles and teaching and healing and deliverance, and ended with prayer, betrayal, abandonment, judgment, pain, cruel treatment, but most of all, victory. You see, it starred the one and only true God who was manifested in the form of a living being, a man named Jesus. He had a full life that had some ups and downs, but overall, he was born for a purpose, and that was to get us to the portion of this scripture. So you see, during this long 6-hour ordeal that had taken place, we have the Son of God hanging on the cross. And by the time we get to this point, his physical body would have been in such agony from all that he had endured. Pain so bad that he was potentially losing feeling in some of his limbs. He was achy, and he was hot, and he was parched. And although he could have called it quits, he stayed right there so that this word could be fulfilled. So although most would have changed their minds, right, Jesus made a decision to stay. Through the taunts of the people, he chose to hang here. After being falsely accused, he chose to hang here. While he was still being beaten, he was given a crown of thrones, and he was spat upon and mocked, yet still, he still decided to stay there. The clowns were so committed to this, they even robbed Jesus and took his garments. Yet with all of the commotion going on, he didn't try to get his lick back. He didn't speak ill of those that were around, but instead he took the time to show himself as an intercessor. He offered forgiveness. He showed compassion. He showed vulnerability. He showed that his human body had a need. And now the greatest part of this show was the finality of the mission. There was a shift that was about to take place. It was all coming to an end. So what was left to say after all these things had taken place? Nothing but it is finished. Exactly what is the it that had been finished? Saints, it was the work that had been given of the Father for him to do. It was the exchange of the offering of a literal sacrifice for the perfect one who had just been offered. It was the end of the debt that really belonged to mankind. It was the culmination of prophecies that had been spoken. It was the end of his humanistic presence on the earth. It was the beginning of my life, right? But it was also the end of my inability to be forgiven. Any confusion about who he was and that he was the one and only true God, right there, that's what was ending. Anything that we saw that he stayed, it was just for me. Every hit that he took, it was for my it. While they mocked him, it was for my it. They denied him, it was for my it. They lied, and it was for my it. They tortured him, it was for my it. And another hit, that was for all my it. My sin, my sickness, my diseases, it was for all of that. But then when they spit, that too was for my it. So all that it stands, the final curtain on this show was just about to happen. It wasn't because of anything else, but the defeat of Satan and of death. A life well lived was not taken, but it was freely given. The effects of this one-time event still lives on today. In this moment, the word comes to life. Over there in 1 Peter, after you've suffered a while, he'll make you perfect, establish you, strengthen you, and settle you. This showing of all these different emotions from the human side just eliminated what was going on, the ongoing effects of what the spiritual side would be. And with this, he had the vinegar. He said the word while yet knowing that this part of this show was about to be over and the proverbial final curtain would be drawn. But saints, please don't be sad. I have a well-known secret. There is an encore coming. But for now, my time is up. And just like Jesus said, it is finished.